Okay, this is my first time doing one of these, but we'll see how it goes. I'm Brian, Variable Penguin Designs. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook. And hopefully my camera doesn't fall off. I have it kind of rigged up here on top of the light so that I can show you what I'm working on. But I also have the laptop here so I can keep up with anyone actually joins and chat with them and such if I need to. Yeah, it's my first time doing this, but for a long while I was doing custom action figures, and I kind of stopped for a really long time just because of space, and it was kind of becoming expensive and a lot of work. And when a hobby becomes a lot of work, I don't usually like to keep doing it, but I was cleaning up some stuff that we'd had in storage, and I found this Deadpool figure here that I had started a while ago, and it looks like I actually put some time and effort into it. It's one of the Joker goon bodies from the Dark Knight movie, and I went and I filled in all the peg holes with some Avis epoxy sculpt. I sculpted a bow tie, sculpted his little logos on the back of his gloves, and actually used a cast of, I think it's the Bowen version of the statue that someone had shrunk down. I think my buddy Kyle Robinson had actually been the one that got that cast and shrunk, so interesting little thing. Oh, sorry if there's dog noises. I have 3 dogs, and we actually have a 4th dog. It's a foster dog that's staying with us. So right now I'm gonna just break the figure down. I'm sure I took it apart a while ago, but I'm just gonna take his jacket off here so I can clean him up. I think he's might be a little oily, so got a little bath over here for him, just some soapy water in there with a toothbrush. Clean him up a little bit. And actually, before I do that, I'm going to double check this sculpting to see if it's smooth, because I don't want it to be bumpy when I do go in and paint it, so it'll be, a smooth line. And I'm just going to sand that down just a little to make sure it's flush, because it kind of defeats the purpose of covering the peg holes if they don't appear flush, because that's why you cover the peg holes, so that they're flush. So if you don't take the time to sand it down, then you'll already have another visible issue. Let's see, yeah, that's kind of here I am sanding it outside of the camera view. That's stupid. Kind of the whole point here, right? Otherwise, I would just be doing this quietly myself on a Sunday. There you go, some of that sanding. And these are just some cheapo files I got on Amazon a while back. They come in a pack of 8. I have successfully broken half of them. And this is just a little stand I 3D printed. It sticks on my pegboard. Stuck some maggots on it. Originally I had it sticking on my 3D printer because I was using it to sand down bits from the 3D printer, but now that I have an actual house, I can mount this stuff on the wall. And I don't have to just rely on shoving stuff onto the side of the 3D printer. So I'm just going to be sanding this down. I don't have anyone in here, so let me go on Facebook and just real quick post that I am live, and if anyone wants to join, I'll go to that page. Share, post live. show. Alright. Maybe they'll get some people following, but in any case, I think when I record this, it shows up. So, I don't know how it works. This is my first time literally ever doing this. Anyway, get back to Deadpool here. And if you notice, he's not in his usual costume. This is, I can't remember what artist did it, but someone kind of depicted him as kind of like the white tuxedo jacket wearing James Bond. I can't remember where I saw it, but on one of the covers I think he's like wearing the white tuxedo and holding up a pistol and got some ladies around him. But I always thought it was kind of cool. Actually did a Halloween costume of it one year, just because it's easy. It's just get a white tuxedo jacket, get a red bow tie. The only hard part was make a Deadpool mask, and my wife does not like that Deadpool mask because it's kind of creepy looking, covering up your face like that. But it's what it is. It was just for a costume, so. Okay, just sand this down. Always sanding is so interesting because it's never precise. It's just you kind of just do it until it feels right. And I think you even do that with woodworking. I mean, you can do it precisely, but it's always like touch it, see if it feels right. Does it feel right? Okay, then it's probably right. I don't really make tools for checking that I'm aware of, especially not for action figures. But yeah, it's been a while since I've done an action figure. The last one I did was I did a Obi-Wan Kenobi figure from the. It's like I did a 6-inch version of the Mythos statue from Sideshow, which I actually have back there. There he is, back there in the corner. There he is. Book, book. Yeah. That's actually, I really like that statue. It's one of the most expensive collectibles I've ever purchased because I saw them. I was like, wow, that's amazing. I kind of have to have that. And I got the Boba Fett one too, which is on the opposite side from him on those bookcases. But yeah, so I made a 6-inch version of him because I pre-ordered basically the full case of Star Wars Black Series figures from, I forget why. I think that line came with like Ezra from Rebels and Chopper and Dr. Aphra maybe and her 2 droids, and then like episode 1 Obi-Wan. I was like, wow, I really want all of those. Not really interested in episode 1 Obi-Wan. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this figure. Maybe I'll just hop it on eBay or something. But then I remembered, oh yeah, I have the Mythos statue. That's a pretty cool look for him, and he's wearing most of it. He's got the karate-gi thing that Jedi wear. The only thing he's missing is the robe that's got the sleeves torn off, and then like the backpack, and obviously a beard because it's episode 1 Obi-Wan. But yeah, I just sculpted all that on there. Got him looking like the statue, and I actually got to play with some 3D printing with that, which, if you don't see here, is my new 3D printer, the Sidewinder X1, and my old 3D printer, the Kitty Tech X1. Totally coincidental that they're both X1s, but kind of funny. I have cameras on them for recording, and I had to change the name of the one for the Sidewinder because I had just named it X1, and they're like, oh, well, they're both X1. That's going to be a little confusing to look at. But anyway, back to Obi-Wan with the 3D printing. So a while back I was gonna do the costume because I was like, hey, that'd be cool. I'll see if anyone has done it before. And I found this guy online who had done the Obi-Wan costume, and he had some 3D models of like some of the stuff on his backpack. Like he has a portable moisture evaporator thing. You know, he lives on Tatooine, so there's not a lot of moisture, so the moisture farming is a thing, which, okay. Yeah, so he's got a little portable moisture evaporator on his backpack that the guy had 3D models of, and then he's got the Clone Wars era shoulder armor and chest armor that he wears on his backpack, and so I 3D printed those, and then, you know, sculpted or cobbled together some kit bash stuff for that to get him looking right. And this is going pretty well. There's not too much grease on here. The figure's just a little shiny, so I wasn't sure if it was grease or if it was just, you know, really smooth plastic. But it's a good idea to go in here and do that because, you know, your paint's gonna wear off. Like normally I would take this figure and break it apart, but I really don't feel like doing that. I wasn't even gonna. I was halfway of mine just to toss this or it's like give it away to someone and be like, here, do you want this? I don't feel like doing it. I don't figures anymore, but yeah, might as well. I'll put it on eBay and see if I can get some money for it. Deadpool's pretty popular right now, so living in his own space and all. But anyway, back to Obi-Wan. So yeah, I 3D printed parts for him and then sculpted parts. It's basically a combination of everything I've done on a figure. I like sculpted his hair and his beard and parts on his backpack. I just like used random little bits of like other figures and fodder. Oh yeah, and I 3D printed he has like a Tusken Raider rifle. Tusken Raider, no, just kidding. Sand people. Ben, you can't just call them sand people. Oh. No, but I sculpted parts, I kit bash parts, I used like bits of twine to make the rope for his, he's got like a grappling hook, I guess for climbing some rocky places on Tatooine. And I 3D printed like Qui-Gon, and I didn't actually have to 3D print Anakin's, I just realized that. Because obviously Rey has that, and I had two Rey figures, one from Force Awakens and one from Last Jedi. So I just took one of the lightsabers off of that for that, because he carries those on his belt, or on his backpack, and just put those together. But now I'm just drying this off a little bit. Normally I'd probably let this air dry and work on something else, but that would be pretty boring because I don't actually have anything else to work on right now. Since I'm not doing this full time. Yeah. So I used to do this like pretty full time, and then I started taking commissions, and then I was like, I gotta make deadlines now. People are like asking me where their figure is and wanting updates. I was like, ugh, this is a lot of work now. Like originally I was just like, oh, this is a cool figure. I think it looks like it could be this. Or like they had a Gladiator Hulk figure and he was just really plain, and I was like, you know, he could use like a giant mace and a whole bunch of, and he could use like his sandals because he's barefoot for some reason, and he could use like a whole bunch of blood splatter across him. So I did that, and I painted that, and I sold it on eBay, and I made like, you know, I think $400 on that figure, and I was like, holy crap, I didn't realize people were that interested in buying figures. I can see what I can do with this. And, you know, I was doing all sorts of figures. I did this cool Mr. T back in the day, back on Figure Realm, which is the website where customizers went to. There was another one, I think it's like Whoosh or something. I don't. I never really went there. I like cross posted there like 2 or 3 times, but I don't know. It was the culture there was a little bit too aggressive or something. I don't know like the right word for it, but I wasn't a huge fan of that website, so I just kind of avoided that. And one of my buddies, like I said earlier, Kyle, he came up with a new forum called Toy Soup, and he had me as one of the moderators on there. It's kind of cool. This is just some isopropyl alcohol, just to give it another once over and make sure I get all the grease off. Just gonna use a toothbrush again. But yeah, I used to post on Figure Realm and Toy Soup all the time. I would just, make whatever I wanted to. It wasn't, hey, make me this figure. It'd be like, hey, I found this cool looking figure, but I haven't seen it turned into, I'm like drawing a complete blank. Okay, so like a big set I did was the Wildcats figures, Jim Lee's Wildcats from the mid-90s. His first jump off to the independent Image Comics label, winning with Marvel. He basically made his own new X-Men team, because, they were basically mutants. They all had powers because of their like half alien DNA, but for some reason the powers were all different. It's like, okay, that's how that alien race works, sure. But yeah, I made a few of those. So I did I did Grifter, I did Floorblade, I did Zealot, I did a Spartan. I never got around to doing a Maul, which is weird because Maul, I'm sure, could easily have just been adapted from a Hulk figure, because he's basically just Hulk. He just gets bigger and stronger as he gets angrier, or I don't remember how his power worked. I knew he got dumber as he got stronger, which is, that makes sense, I guess. Why not? But I didn't make any of the others. I did an imp, but it didn't look right because imp's a dwarf, and basically I just took one of they had Marvel Legends, a 6-inch line, and then they had the Marvel something, I can't remember, some other, it was like a 3.75-inch line, like the G.I. Joe scale, and I took like a Doc Ock figure and did it. But then basically, since it was full normal adult proportions, just shorter, it basically he just looked like a little kid, kind of, because the proportions were all off. But yeah, that was strange. Yeah. Sorry, I'm scrubbing outside of the screen. Yeah, I'm just scrubbing this down with isopropyl alcohol just to make sure I get all the oil off. And I guess I'll just pour that into my soapy water or something. I don't have a place for it. Cut that off. But yeah, I got some attention from some people, and was selling stuff on eBay, and then started getting some interest from people, and they'd be like, "Hey, can you make me this figure?" And I was like, "Sure." I don't know how much to charge for that. Give me one second. I'm trying to see if I'm actually. This is the first time I've set this whole thing up, so I don't know if the audio is working. But yeah, so I would put together figures for some people. I started doing it for like pretty cheap because I was like, I think they're cool looking, but really, are they that cool looking? Sure. I did a lot more haggling than I should have. Probably. I probably should have just said, no, it's this amount, and if they didn't want to pay it, then don't. But yeah, I did customs for a while like that, and eventually I started taking on probably too many, and then it got stressful because I was like, oh shit, I have all these figures I need to build, and I'm not doing it right now. Hopefully the audio is working because I've been babbling on for quite a while. Let's see, I think there's here's some scratching in the background. That's what our foster dog, she's on crate rest, and our mastiff is going to go investigate why she's scratching so much, but she has a broken leg that they had to set and put pins in, and a plate, I think, and she's just real antsy because she's a puppy and she wants to get out and run around and play, but she can't run because she's trying to heal. Okay, that looks mostly dry. It feels still a little greasy, but I think it's just the material. Hopefully my paint sticks. I had to go out because most of my old paints, obviously, it's been like 6 years or so since I did this really with any frequency, and so all my old paints are pretty dried up. So I went to local comic shop and got some Citadel. I really only got white and red. I think black will be okay to just use like a craft store one. I didn't usually use craft store ones because I wasn't sure of the quality, but okay, let me check to see if I can increase that. Let's see. Let me pause record. Okay. Back to it. Yeah, so I used to use just mainly like these Game Workshop Citadel paints, but they dry out. Like, actually, this brand new one I bought, it looks pretty separated. I'm probably gonna have to add some water to that and do some mixing. Yeah, I mean, you should always mix your paints before you use them, but you know, with like craft store ones, that's mixing. I also got some just craft store white in case this one doesn't work, and I have this clear urethane varnish that gives it like a gloss coat, but I'm going to use that on his shoes so they kind of look like patent leather. So let's see, let me work with this white paint, because generally when you paint you want to start with your lighter colors, because it's harder to do a lighter color over a dark color. So if I did the black on his pants first and accidentally got, well, his shirt's black already, but if I got some of the black like on these spots right here, it'd be a lot harder to cover that up with the white paint, just because the white paint is lighter, and it would probably just show as gray for a while. But if you do the white first, then it's not as bad. And I guess like on his eyes, that would be the next white part I would need to do. So that's kind of blowing out. It's hard to film white. I guess the contrast is pretty high. Let me get my paint brushes. My roll of paint brushes here. This is pretty cool. I've had this roll for, you know, a while. And anytime I get new paintbrushes, I just kind of add them in here. So let's see, I'm going to, I'm just mixing up the paint right now, so I'm just going to take one of these old ones. I, as you can see, frequently use the back of a paintbrush to mix it up with paint. So let's put that over there. Let's get into this white paint. Oh, that looks funky. What the hell? That looks really bad. I'm going to take the cap off all the way. That's pretty thick. Yeah, I'm gonna... Why is there so much gray in something that's supposed to be white? This is a little weird. Well, it's mixing up pretty well, though. I might need to put a couple drops of water in there, but... No, that's not the worst. Actually, let me double check. I'm not sure that I don't. Like, it's been a while since I've done figures, but I did do a Gundam a couple years back, and I bought the colors for that. Let me double check. See if that. I forget if I used white on that. I do not. Nope. I have gray, light blue, dark blue, and orange. None of those colors go in Deadpool. Unless you're doing like his X-Force costume. No, I'm not though. Let me mixing this up. It's not even purely white. Oh, dang it. I basically bought a really, really light gray. Cortex white is not white, it is gray. So that sucks, but I guess I'll just use the craft store one I have. It's Craft Smart. Craft Smart, Craft Smart? No, I don't know. Oh, that's pretty gross. It's always good to keep yourself some paper towels handy, because yeah, that's so not white. Dang it. The lighting in that store was not that great, so. And I'm not a big fan of Citadel, how they have like, now I'm sure it's very useful if you're into wargaming and you're painting your figures all the time and you know exactly what they mean, but why is there one called base and one of them called layer? It's the reason I didn't buy black, because I didn't see a black one that was a black base, because I think I need a black base, right? I don't need a layer black on top of things. I want layer for the black for the base. So I don't know. But obviously these are like, the base one seems a bit thicker, which I just would have to thin it down before I used it anyway, which I'm not going to use, because. But this red looks pretty good. That looks pretty Deadpool red. Wow. Is that? Huh. I'm noticing that the copyright is 2013 on these. Does that mean these paints are 7 years old? Let me look at the other ones. That kind of piques my interest a little bit. That might be the issue of why it's so chunky. So older one, it's 2013 also. And 2013. Yeah, okay, so those are all. I guess they just don't update the bottles? I don't know, it seems kind of weird. I'm not gonna, violate their copyright. I don't even know how you do that. Are you gonna, steal their bottle design and make your own paints or something? I don't know, that's weird. But I guess I'm just going to use this craft store white as my base. Shake it up, shake it up, shake it up. You gotta mix up your paints. If you don't, paints like to separate, especially acrylics. Well, I don't know, especially acrylics, but that's basically all I work with is acrylics. And if you don't shake them up, they kind of separate out, and you kind of get like a weird, thin, non-paint material with no pigment in it, and it's pretty gross. I'm going to use my palette here, because I'm going to put some water in it. Let's go with this glossy section here, so that it doesn't accidentally pick up other colors. And just a little white there. That off to the side. I don't know if I'm going to use that brush. So I gotta paint basically his top half white. I gotta do the sleeves, the shirt, and this jacket. I might start with the jacket, since I'll have to handle that most. I don't think I'm going to paint the inside, because one, you don't really see it at any point, and two, I'm worried about it rubbing against his pants there, and then leaving white paint on the pants. So the pants are supposed to be black. It's only like a half tuxedo outfit thing. So let me get a paintbrush. Let's see, what is a good size brush for this? And I'll hopefully not forget that I need to put water in my paint. some of these are pretty dried out. I'm looking at the brushes and I might just use this one. There's a reason why this one is much dirtier and much shorter. I think it is one of my favorite brushes that I have used for painting figures, so I'll just stick with that one. It was a good choice back then, it's probably a good choice now. But let me get some, I've got these little cups of water. I'm just gonna actually do brush a little on there. That might have been too much. Let me slosh it into the next. Okay. Come on. Come on. Whoop. There we go. There. Oh, I got to use the end of the brush. Get off. I want too much paint on it right now. Okay, let's mix that around. There we go. It's hard to tell, like, it's hard to say how much paint, how much thinning you should do. It's kind of an eyeball thing. But yeah, in general, right out of the bottle is not great because, you know, it's been sitting in there for who knows how long, as we saw with the Games Workshop stuff. It's gonna be really thick and it's gonna go on in globs. Like, I've painted some figures purely like that and it is not turned out well. I do want to use a different brush. I feel stupid. This is that I need a wider brush for more coverage. Let's see, that's too big. This one's good. This one's a little dry though. Put it in the water here. I usually have done a good job of cleaning out my brushes, but you know, occasionally you get sidetracked. This one might be ruined. It's really hard. Some pliers. Let me see. I can't. Nope. Yeah, this one's pretty well. It's got like little bits of metallic paint. Oh no, I think it's actually working. Yeah, this is why you gotta clean your brushes after you use them. Because 6 or 7 years later, you might need it for something. Okay, so that's broken it up a little bit. Let's shove it in the water. Yeah, the water's kind of becoming murky, so there's clearly something on there. I think it was like a metallic paint. Yeah, those metallic paints, you know, it's just like a suspension of a metallic pigment and a clear paint base, or whatever you call paint. It looks like it's probably like a gunmetal or something based on how dark it is in the middle. It looked like I cleaned the outside of the brush, but I didn't get the inside. So, I don't use that brush either, because that is annoying. Oh, here we go. This is a good brush. This one looks like I have used before, but it's flexy and it's not dirty, so very important. Let's see, get this out of the way. Hopefully you can hang out over here in your own space. I'll show you in a funny pose. There you go. Sorry if you can hear me swallowing. I'm a loud swallower. Okay. So I just put them on my finger right here, you know. Acrylic paint, water base, doesn't matter. If it gets on you, you can wash it off. Let's brush it on there. Do some light brushing. I'm like an hour in almost, and I'm just starting to paint. But prep work is very important. If you want your, see right here, where it's kind of like separating. I think it's just still a little oily right there. I don't know how, though. You saw what I did. I scrubbed it down with soapy water, and I scrubbed it down with isopropyl alcohol. That should get really any oils off. I had a friend once that used like brake fluid for cleaning off figures. I'm not sure what's in brake fluid, and I'm not sure if I want to expose myself to it that much very often. So, did not take up that habit. That seemed a little extra. A little expensive, like isopropyl alcohol, super cheap. You can buy a big old box of it on Amazon or, you know, your favorite online marketplace. And, you know, it's not expensive. Okay. Now, obviously, we're getting like brush strokes and such, but that's fine. Don't worry about it. This is a handmade piece, you know. But yeah, no, like it's mainly just right now because of this thin base coat. When I do another layer on it, it won't be as visible. Hopefully, if memory serves me. And get the lapels right now. And these Joker Goon figures were pretty good. I remember them just being like peg warmers at the store, because like, oh yeah, that's my favorite character from The Dark Knight. That random guy wearing a clown mask that isn't the Joker. And yeah, he's my favorite. No, I remember about like half dozen of these for like they originally went for probably $20, maybe 15. I can't remember what the toy prices were back then, but I remember them being that much, and then buying half a dozen for like $5 each, and like, you know, making anyone that wears a suit basically. I think I did a Two-Face with one. I can't remember who else, but you know, anyone with a suit. It's perfectly good basis. He didn't. I think they had ties. I can't remember. I remember they had. That was a weird figure line because they came like with little evidence bags, and I was like, that's kind of cool, but that's just basically junk. So I had like, you know, half a dozen of the weird little masks that they wore, and it's like, okay. But it would have made more sense if they did like the different clown robbers instead of just the one figure. They did one figure for one guy, and then they did the Joker in his disguise. I don't think you could take the mask off of the Joker one or anything. You couldn't take it off of the regular goon. But it would have made sense if they had just, you know, done some variants or just different figures with the other goons, because like that's why it was a peg warmer, because it's like, well, I have the one guy, okay, that's cool. It's the one guy that, you know, the Joker kills, or the other guy kills, or I can't remember which one it was. I think he had like a green shock of hair and a big red nose, you know, like a clown. And thin this a little bit more. But yeah, it was like, why didn't they just do some alternate heads for them? And then you could have the whole Joker crew, and that would have actually looked kind of neat displayed together. But otherwise, you just had Joker and one guy. or Joker and 5 copies of the same guy. And I know someone probably went out there and did like a custom where they sculpted the heads, and some collector I'm sure bought it and really liked that scene. And it was a good scene, a good movie, one of the best Batman movies. But you know, these are toys. I don't know, adult collectors and such. I mean, that's who my market was. I'm not selling hand-painted figures to 6-year-olds or something, but like, you still gotta try to sell these figures, and I mean, the adult collector doesn't want those. Like, maybe if you're gonna do the Joker guy, do like one of the other gangs from the movie. That'd be cool. Like the Michael Jai White's character's gang. I forget. I don't think I ever knew his character's name. Actually, I was gonna say I forgot what his name is, but no, I don't. Honestly, I don't know. It's like, no, it's the guy that played Spawn and was in those scenes that were cut from Kill Bill, like the actual good martial arts in that movie. But no, it'd be cool to have one or two of the other ones. You can do like a little gang standoff display or something. I don't know. I guess with the animated style figures it works better to be able to do a display. That's why it's going on pretty well. Again, disappointed that it's not the Citadel, because chunky and not actually white. It wouldn't be as annoying if it had just been right up the road from me, but it was like 20 minutes away in another town to get that paint, because I kind of live out in the boonies now, which is nice. I mean, I like living out. It's not as loud, but it is inconvenient when you want to go to a comic book shop or a game shop and you have to drive 20 minutes away. There's a straight shot down the highway at least, and it's not like I have to navigate a lot to get there. It's just 25 miles away. Just tedious. There's nothing closer. But to be fair, where I used to live, there wasn't really any close either. My local comic shop didn't sell a lot of wargaming stuff. They didn't dedicate themselves to having that space set out. I think they did like some board games and Magic the Gathering stuff, but those don't take up as much space. You can do that with a regular table and some chairs. Now this place has like the big table set up for people to come in and do like war game tournaments or whatever. I don't know. I never got into that. So if you saw, I did one coat on the back and then one coat on the front, and then by the time I was done with the front, it was decent enough to do another coat. So this will probably take 3 coats, and I'm doing this thin because, especially with white and yellow, if you don't do thin multiple coats, it kind of gets chalky, and I really don't want that. It's just gonna fleck off or look bad, and I'm gonna let that dry a little more. Use the brush here to escape from it, and I'm gonna take just a little bit of a break. I have to go to the bathroom real quick, so I will be right back. Okay, I am back. Painted jacket and did 2 coats. It's still pretty, you can still see the color underneath, but I'm just going to leave that for now and do his body a little bit. Let's see, let's put his arms out and up a little so I can get this joint. I'm gonna have some joint wear on here because it did not go through and sand in and take them apart, but it doesn't matter at this moment. Get his shirt painted. Try to avoid painting the other areas white that don't need to be white, so I don't want to paint his pants accidentally. Not a big deal if I do. Obviously, black will cover that up. Ooh, I should have dried out my paint. It's coming in a little thin and wet. I'm actually going to wipe that off very quick. Whoop. Not on camera. Okay, let's try that again. Yeah, it was a little too thin. Yeah, there we go. That looks better. Just gonna paint. Sorry if my audio isn't super high quality. I'm kind of just using an earbud thing. I don't have like a professional audio setup or anything. I'm just running this off my laptop and got a $20 webcam running the video on the painting, and just got my laptop camera on me. I'm glad I did find about OBS Studio or whatever it's called, because yeah, it's a lot more conducive to this than the regular Twitch stuff, because the regular Twitch stuff is kind of more geared towards people that aren't gaming. Obviously that's kind of what their platform is, but they do have a craft section, and that's where this is listed, and that's what this is. Tags I'm not so sure about though. That kind of confounded me. I was able to use painting, but there's no action figure, there's no toys, there's nothing like that. But you know, if you want to do ASMR, that's available apparently. Which yeah, people do some weird stuff on the internet. I'm not going to paint his back because it's not going to be visible at all. So, yeah, why bother? Just going to kind of paint this front half of his shirt, because you're not going to take the jacket off and have him run around without the jacket. Run around, yeah. Action figures can move on their own. It's Toy Story. No, you're not going to take his jacket off and pose him without it because it looks weird, because he's wearing suit sleeves. So that doesn't work on its own. Let's see, I'm just doing a little bit better coverage there. There's some spots on the first pass. And I got it on his neck. I was kind of hoping not to have to paint his neck, but might have to. I was going to leave it skin tone because I think that'll look funnier to have the mask just be exactly on his face and then his neck show. Because otherwise it kind of looks like he's wearing his costume underneath the suit, and you know, that's not the case. He's wearing a suit and just his mask. But I guess I kind of need to do his like weird gross modeled skin, because you know, he's got his healing factor is basically like weirdly cancer based, and so his cancer shows on the outside. Fun stuff. Deadpool is a fun character. It's not my favorite, but he is very popular, so I think I might make some money off of this. Who knows? Who knows? I'm still debating on if I'm going to do his bow tie red or black. I think it'll look better, good either way, but I just haven't decided. Now I'm just going to start painting. I'm going to twist his arm so I can get the joint there and twist that there too. Just haven't really thought about which I'm going to do. The picture I've seen actually has a black bow tie, but I think red would be more fitting. I mean, obviously his colors are red and black. He's going to be wearing a red mask and red gloves. But yeah, like a black bow tie, even though that's his color scheme, red and black, it kind of clash with his accessories. So I'll probably just do, just gonna hit that a little bit with some white too, because it's got eyeballs on it. I feel like that's such a 90s thing, even though I'm pretty sure the design on the gloves is from the early 2000s, but to have like the logo on everything, like I think Deadpool has like his logo on his gloves, sometimes on his belt buckle, and his logo is just his face, basically. The red circle with the eye shapes. Kind of still see the shape of the sculpting material I put there, but that's not a big problem. I shall worry about that later. I don't think it's going to look too bad. And this white paint is going on pretty well. And this was good paintbrush choice. I'll twist that. Do that, do that. Kind of doing the I'm on the beach pose. Arnold Palmer from In-N-Out Burger. People complain about In-N-Out around here in Texas. They're all like, Whataburger is so much better than In-N-Out Burger. I'm like, they both have their positives and their negatives. Like, one fantastic thing about Whataburger is you can get onion rings. It's not really a common fast food burger thing to get onion rings. And it doesn't actually cost you any extra, I don't think. If you're like, can I get onion rings instead of fries? They will just, give you onion rings. And since people don't order it all the time, they usually fresh. And the burgers are good. I'm a fan of Whataburger. They're hit and miss on the toppings. Like, your lettuce can be kind of wilty. And no one wants, like, wilted lettuce. Lettuce is kind of just gross on its own because it's just a nothing vegetable that's just basically water. And yeah, if it's gross and soggy, it's even worse. Worse than nothing. But In-N-Out kind of has them beat that, to be honest. Like, their lettuce is always green. It's not like white core bits of iceberg lettuce. It's like green lettuce. Tasty. Well, not tasty. It still tastes like nothing, but I appreciate it being green. And what was I saying? Oh, so like people in Texas, when In-N-Out came out, Whataburger is so much better. In-N-Out is garbage, but I like In-N-Out. They're good. I mean, I like Whataburger too. I just happen to live closer to an In-N-Out now, which is funny. But if Whataburger was closer, I would have gone to Whataburger. It's no personal preference. I like their quote-unquote secret menu that everyone knows about, but like, people like the animal style, but really what I'm all for is the extra everything. That's the best one, because you get extra all the toppings. So they put an extra slice of onion, extra sauce, extra lettuce, and then how like they do a ring of onion, they do 2 rings of onion. Which if you hadn't had a In-N-Out burger with onion, it is an entire section of onion. Like, you know how you slice an onion in half. Normally at, fast food place, they give you 2 rings of that, like, broken up, but they give you the whole, like, cross cut of the onion, and then with extra everything, they give you 2 of those, and that's pretty crazy. And if you feel like dying that day, get your burger extra everything, and then get your fries animal style, and that doesn't cost any extra, but animal style, they put cheese and onions on your fries, and it's amazingly delicious. I didn't get that today because I didn't feel like having to be sick the rest of the day, because it will give you an upset stomach, because with this plague and all, I've been doing a lot more home cooking, so haven't been eating as much fast food and greasy stuff, so my body is not really used to it. Like, I get fast food maybe once a week, at that, maybe every week and a half. We do get some food trucks near our house, because our HOA is kind of awesome. But, yeah, I've been pretty well avoiding fast food for the most part. I've been doing a lot of sous vide cooking, which, if you're not familiar with, it's basically you, oh, sorry. You take the air out of the equation when you're cooking stuff. So you vacuum seal or do a air displacement submersion in a Ziploc bag of your meat or whatever you're cooking. Generally it's meat with me. And then you put it in a water bath for a certain amount of time. So what's cool about that is you do these long, slow cooks of stuff. So you get like a chuck roast in your sous vide, and it's in there for like 2 days, like 48 hours, only cooking at like 133 or 134 degrees or so the whole time, just like 48 hours of just sitting in a bath. So like your fat and your connective tissue and all, they start to break down more than they would if you were just like roast it in the oven for like 6 hours or whatever people do with roasts. I don't know, I haven't done a roast not sous vide in such a long time, but when I get it out, the texture is amazing. It's like eating a prime rib, like a rare prime or medium rare prime rib, and because of how long it's cooked, like, you don't have to worry about, and because it's vacuum sealed, you don't have to worry about like bacteria and stuff that can build up when normally you would cook something that low. Like if you cooked a steak or something and it was only that low for a very short time, you have, there's a risk of foodborne allergy or foodborne pathogens and stuff, but not so much when you sous vide because of just the time. It's like if it was at that temperature for like 15 minutes, oh yeah, sure, that stuff's gonna breed and populate, but 2 days, no, that stuff's like, oh, we're dead now. So yeah, it's good stuff. I'm doing that a lot lately, so a lot of home cooked meals because of that, because my wife and I'll get like a 3-pound chuck roast and throw that in the sous vide on Friday afternoon, and then Sunday we'll have it fresh, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday we'll be hacking off some bits of it for lunch or dinner, and then come around the weekend we'll make something else or eat something else. And your other meals in the day you just eat something else, but it's just super convenient to have that one thing. I think that's pretty good right there. I'm going to go back to the jacket now. See right there, Do some, like, I don't know. He poses like that. Some, like, supermodel or something. That'd be a very Deadpool thing to do, too. But the plague's been not too terrible for us. I haven't lost anyone, luckily, knock on wood, to it. No, this is depressing. So, but it's been pretty cool because, like, it started basically right when we moved in our house. Like, we moved in mid-March, and then that's when businesses were, like, starting to be like, oh, yeah, there's a plague. We should probably think about maybe limiting people coming to our places. And actually, they were doing that at my office when I took like a week of PTO to get moved and get stuff set up. And like during that week, my office is like, okay, we're gonna switch to work from home. So it was kind of crazy because it's like, oh, cool, that's neat. I can do my job from home. I mean, I already have a laptop for my job, so that shouldn't be too hard for me. And then we're still from work from home, so I haven't been. I actually had to go up there recently to swap out my laptop for like security updates. They have to re-image the laptop with a new version of whatever, which that's going to be a pain on Monday because I did it on Friday afternoon and I kind of just walked away from it and let it do its thing in the background. It's because, you know, that is the issue with work from home, is you're kind of like, am I home if I'm always available to work? So you don't want to not take time for yourself. You don't want to be constantly available. You don't want to be like going in and entering emails at 12:30 in the morning on a Saturday night when you're supposed to be off. And don't do that because I really like my time. I don't want to be working on it. Let's see, get this painted. If you can see there, you can kind of still see some of the blue. That's like a dark navy blue the jacket was. But yeah, these thin coats, it's really covering it up a lot better now. And the multiple coats, it's a lot less visible brush strokes, I think. Like, before it was very visible, but now it's a lot less. Let's stick around my fingers. And when you do stuff like this, just don't worry about getting paint on yourself. It's gonna happen. You don't need to wear gloves or anything weird. You just wash your hands after you're done. Just take care that you don't touch stuff that you don't want paint on accidentally. Just be aware of your situation. And I'm probably gonna have to mix up more paint. I'm running kind of low in this pot. But yeah, this is looking pretty good. I wish someone would join. It's kind of sad. I put it on the Facebook and I put it on Instagram. I would have put it on Twitter, but you know, I don't really do Twitter. I never quite got Twitter. Might sound old. I don't really get into all the new social medias. Like Instagram was kind of a change for me, but it's really not, because it's just like post pictures. Oh, I do that anyway. So yeah, like my first big series of posts on Instagram was like, hey, here's all these action figures I've made. They're already posted on Facebook, but you can look at them here. And some of those got some interest. Like that Hulk figure I was talking about earlier. That one was pretty popular. And one figure I did was pretty cool. It was the Max. I can't remember who the artist is on that, but I know it's like an image imprint but Max was pretty cool looking guy. He's this big purple guy. So I used there was a Build-A-Figure of the character Pit, who has like these big chains around his arms and is like this massive, like 14-foot tall monster guy. He's like bigger than any of the Hulk figures that they made, but he was like a Build-A-Figure, so you had to buy like the 5 or 6 figures from the line and put them together. But yeah, I used one of those to make him, but there's a lot of sculpting involved because on the Pit figure, the chains around his wrists that went around were actually like rubber, like 3D rubber bits, but that means they just didn't actually sculpt wrists underneath there, so it was like this big 1/4-inch section all the way around that I had to sculpt the wrist on. And he had these big claws, but Pit doesn't have claws, or the Max doesn't have claws, he just has fingers. But the Pit Max also has like this one big claw on each hand, so I had to sculpt those, and obviously their faces aren't the same, so I had to sculpt his face and his head, and he has like these big long dreadlocks that I used craft foam for, which actually turned out really well. And I used craft foam for his boots too, which was pretty cool. And I ended up making a cast of that head because actually that was one of my commissions I did, and the guy really liked it and he wanted me to do there's like a black and white version of them, so I did the black and white version. And I'm glad I did a cast of the head because they look just the same now, instead of having, you know, 2 different versions and they look just slightly off from each other. Yeah, I was able to do a little casting of his head and pour that and then paint it up, and it looked pretty cool. You can find that like on my Instagram and on my Facebook if you scroll through the feed, the black and white one and the purple and yellow versions of the Max. And he had like some, I think the purple and yellow one, he has like what you call it? He's got like some feathers in his hair. It looks pretty cool. I got like some, I can't remember, I think it was like a T-Hawk figure from the Street Fighter line. I think he had like feathers or something, but I think I used that figure for making something else, and I just had it in a bin with a bunch of accessories. That was the thing I found. That was the thing that made me stop doing customizing. It was actually, it was pretty expensive. Like you'd make some money on some figures sometimes, and like it became work, and I was like, I'm working a full-time job, and I'm not making enough making figures, and it's not consistent enough to where I could be like, oh, I'm gonna stop working and only do action figures. So it was just this balance, this issue of, yeah, I'm working 40 hours a week, and then I'm also putting in like 20 and 30 hours having to make figures, and it's stressing me out. So I kind of just, well, I have to keep doing the thing that is consistently making me money, and I can't just do action figures now. So I kind of just dropped the action figure thing because I was like, this is stressful. And then what also was happening was I was collecting way too many. So I would, you know, be up at Walmart or Target. Well, I guess Walmart because it would be late at night. But Walmart, go in the toy aisles. They're like, oh, this new figure line came out. I gotta get this one. Gotta get some copies of this one. I don't know who that. I have a phone call coming in. I don't know who that is. It's probably a spam caller. They can leave a voicemail. But I was going up to like Walmart at like 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning, going in their toy aisles for a while there, and I was like, eventually I was like, what am I doing? I'm like, I'm not buying these figures because I like the characters. I'm buying them because that one looks like it could be a good base for a custom. Like, it's pretty plain. It's just a basic plain buck body, and I could sculpt on this and do this. And so I would have like a tub of like, I think at the end I went through and I sold basically everything that when I moved the time before last. I went through a tub and I had like 50 figures, and I was like, geez, I have more toys now than I ever did when I was a kid. Like, what the hell? Like, I think I had like 7 or 8 G.I. Joes when I was little, and then like a few of the X-Men figures. And that was about it. But then like, it was like a mid-20s guy with like a whole bunch of action figures. And I'm like, it's not, hey, he's not that weird guy that's living in the basement. Like, I was married. But I had all these toys, and it's like, I don't need these. I'm spending too much time doing this. I'm going out to the store in the middle of the night to buy this stuff. I'm like, this isn't enjoyable anymore. So I kind of like, I'm sure I bought this Joker Coon figure on one of those trips, actually. I'm pretty sure of it, actually. I'm fairly certain that I got him on a Walmart, if I recall correctly. But yeah, that kind of stopped. And like, just like the work part of it, it was really just, it was such a hassle, because when I was making figures that, like, I saw a figure and I was like, this would look so much cooler if it was this character. But like, when it became work, it was like, I don't want to have to meet deadlines. And no, I wasn't really doing that. Like, to quote one of my customers, it was always like, well, whenever is clever, that would be like their timeline. But honestly, I probably would have done better if they'd given me a timeline. If they'd been like, yeah, can you make me this figure? I need it by such and such date. Then I would put some time into it and get it done. But yeah, like, one thing that really turned me off from doing commissions was you get like people wanting to make changes. Like this guy, he wanted me to make this one figure, and I was like, okay, that's an interesting. It was like his original design, but he didn't have drawings or anything. He was like, okay, I want it to be just like a regular guy. I want him to have cargo pants, and then I want him to have like a double sword, and I want him to look kind of like me, and then also I want him to have this helmet that's like all mirrored and shiny. It's like, okay, you want him to look like you, but you want him to have a helmet. Okay, so he's gonna have to have swappable heads, so I'll have to figure that out. Usually what I would do is just magnets or something. And then and then I want him to have Wolverine claws. I'm like, okay, I can do that. I used to do a thing where I'd get like bobby pins and snip them off at an angle and embed them. Oh, but I want this claws to be removable. I don't want him to have like the claws while he's holding the sword. Like, okay, yeah, I can do that. Done that before. Another magnet thing. A lot of magnets used in customizing. And then he was like, oh yeah, and then I want him to have wings, like Angel. I'm like, what the? So he's wearing a shiny motorcycle helmet, a black shirt, cargo pants. He's got claws. He's got a double-sided sword, and he's got wings. Like, it was the most ridiculous figure, and I just kept like, every time he added something, I just kept raising the price on him, because honestly I was like, I don't really want to make this, but also I do like money. So I just kept making that, and then I made it. It looks just like he asked for, and I think they liked it. I don't remember, but it was just like, this is a crazy idea. This is just like such a model mix of things, and he didn't like send me any pictures other than like a picture of himself that was kind of blurry, and if I recall, I'm like, okay, man, well, there you go, there's your figure. Yeah, it was just weird. I think the most recent commission I did actually was, I did this, it wasn't a figure, but it was a figure, because it was like you know, it was action figure based, and he was gonna display it with action figures, but it was this like giant sun. I posted on Instagram, but it's this big sun called Solaris. It's from like one of the Superman future comics. I can't remember what it's called, but I didn't really read a lot into its background. But it's like, you know how like Ego in Marvel is a living planet. Well, it's like a living sun. It's like a robot AI sun or something like that. I don't know. It was really weird, but like this guy, he's just contacting me out of the blue, and he's like, "Hey, I've seen your stuff on Instagram, and I was wondering if you could make me this thing." And I was like, you know, that sounds kind of cool, because I bet I could use 3D printing for this, and I could. So what I did was I sculpted, like not sculpted, but I basically just made like a bunch of cones, 3D printed cones, and then I got like a big styrofoam hemisphere, not, but it was like a hollow hemisphere, because he didn't ask for it particularly, but I really wanted to put lights in the thing, because like he's got this big glowing eye in the front. So like I put the spikes all over this styrofoam ball, and then I used like this styrofoam ceiling stuff that's for, I think, like model trains. So it's like this rock hard material that you just like sculpt over it, and it got all cool and jagged and stuff. And I have photos of it on Instagram. I kind of like posted through. I think that was like the first big project I documented on Instagram. But like, yeah, I did sculpted these, put these big spikes all over it, and it looked really pretty neat. And yeah, and that was just like a weird project, just because he was out of town when he requested it, and he was like, "Hey, I'm gonna do all these payments for you," and I was like, "That's cool, yeah, just, you know, like half down or whatever at the beginning, and then so I know you're committed to it, because I don't want to start this big project and then end up having this, you know, mostly finished thing, and then you'd be like, oh, I can't pay for the rest of it or something," and then it was like, this is such a niche character, I'm not going to get the money back if I don't. But no, like everything went fine with the payment and everything. He paid for it eventually, but it was just like, it was this weird situation where he was out of town and wouldn't be back for like half the year, which was fine. It gave me like 6 months to work on it and stuff, and I got it done a lot faster than that, because I kind of got in a groove after a while, and I was like, yeah, this is coming along really well. And it was just kind of neat. There's like all sorts of different techniques to make it look good. You had the, I think I might have sculpted these buttons on here. I don't know. I don't remember if the buttons on this are sculpted or not. Anyway, no, but yeah, I got to combine so many different skills I had picked up from making other figures, so I was able to like do LEDs, which I hadn't done in a long time, because I put the glowing eye, which was cool because I got like a rubber ball and I drilled a hole in the bottom of it and I stuck the LED in it and then stuck a thumbtack on it for the pupil, and it was pretty neat. And I put like a hemisphere for it to go into, to be like the back of the eye, but to not light up the whole sphere on the inside, so I could kind of hide the crimes of the spikes attachment. But yeah, it was pretty cool. And then I had to like figure out how to make a switch to where it would only work while it was on the base that I built for, I 3D printed for it. And I got to do all the sculpting for the spikes, because I coated it in that like model train styrofoam sealer stuff. I don't know what it was called, but it was like this heavy rock stuff. I think it was probably like gypsum powder or something, I don't know. But it turned out really damn cool, and I got to do this like cool fiery, lava-y paint job. It was like gradients of orange and yellow and reds and browns a little bit and black, just to darken it up a little in places, and it just looked really neat. And I was like, huh, that's cool. I like making commissions again. And it was like one of those commissions that back when I was regularly doing figures, I don't think I would have picked up, because I would have been like, I don't know this character at all, and I don't know how I'm gonna do this, but time had passed, and I just felt like doing it. Let's see. I think I'm just gonna do the white jacket parts today, and then I might stream again either later or another day. Finish up like the reds and blacks, because I'm not really feeling like doing this for another hour or so. Like 2 hours is probably good length of time to stream. Honestly, I don't watch any streaming. I used to watch some YouTube gaming streams from Rooster Teeth with their Achievement Hunter people back in one of my older jobs, just because I worked in an office and like I could have that going on in the background while I was doing other stuff. But I don't do that so much anymore. I guess my work is more interesting now. That I don't need to have something on in the background to drone out the monotony. But yeah, I've never really sat down and like watched a gamer stream a game. Like, I understand the fun of it. Like, it's pretty cool. Like, if you don't have the time to play the video game, or you're not as good at video games or something, or you just like that person's personality. But I haven't found anyone that I want to watch, or really felt like dedicating all that time to watch them. Like, why don't I just, if I had the time to watch them, wouldn't I have the time to play a game myself? Like, that would make sense, right? I get it. They're maybe more skilled at it because they semi-professionally play video games, which, damn, remember when you were kids and your parents said that's not something you could do? Missed opportunity. Could have been a professional gamer. No, I don't think I have the personality for it. You kind of have to be more bombastic. I'm not pretty low key. Like Thor's brother, I am low key, but not adopted. But yeah, I never really got to watch someone play a video game. Like, I'll watch someone craft stuff all day long. Like, shit, I'll watch Adam Savage build stuff in his workshop and be like, that's cool. I mean, I'm not going to do that. And I don't have the skill to do some of that stuff, but some of the stuff's like, oh, here's workshop organization. Oh, that's pretty useful. I could probably use some of those techniques. Actually, he did a video recently where he talked about how he injured himself working on his lathe, and I was like, yeah, that's pretty much why I will never own a lathe, because exactly what you almost had happened to you. He almost pulled his finger off, it looked like, basically. He ended up putting a big gash inside of one of his fingers because it got it caught. He was wiping it down while it's still on, which, crazy. You gotta remember, those things are 1,000-pound machines that can kill you. And I used to be a member at the Dallas Makerspace. Oh yeah, that's got some really bad joint rub there. Let's see if I can just get around from that. But I used to be a member at the Dallas Makerspace, and in the wood shop they had like 2 lathes, and it was like, I stayed away from those. Like, I think you had to take a training course to actually get on it, but I was like, nah, I don't need to turn wood. I'm already afraid enough at the table saw and the bandsaw, and I know how to use those, so I don't need to add another potentially deadly tool to my knowledge base and potentially deglove myself or yeah, something like that. It always made me wonder about like work gloves. Like they sell work gloves at the hardware store. And I'm like, you're not really supposed to wear gloves around some power tools like the table saw or especially the lathe, because like that extra bit can catch and you can, you know, rip your arm off, rip your hand off, because those things are turning at like thousands of revolutions per minute. Always scares me. Like, anytime anyone was using the lathe, I was just like, I'm gonna make sure I stay as far away from you as possible because I don't want to walk by and bump you and then you suddenly get caught in the machine. That would have been, whew, probably, I mean, not probably, that definitely would have been terrifying. So, always gave those wide berth. But that's a cool thing about having a house now. Like, having an actual place that you own and stuff is pretty awesome. I have a table saw now, so I'm gonna do some woodworking stuff. I might do some streaming with it. Be kind of cool, I guess. It'll be really loud, I guess. I don't know how that works. Maybe I'll just record stuff and post the videos on YouTube or Facebook or whatever. And I might need to actually pop his hands off because I can't really get inside the cuff there. Look at the cuff. But I might just leave it dark. It's not a big deal. But it would be a lot easier to paint his gloves if his hands were just separate. So I might do that in the next video. I'll show how you boil and pop a figure. I mean, you don't really use boiling water, obviously. I remember one of my friends was telling people, don't use boiling water because plastic is made out of plant fibers and you're just cooking the plastic and it's going to change its complete, like, features. You just use a hair dryer and heat it up. And I'm like, in either case you're using heat. It's just the amount of heat you're using, and it's a lot easier to me to measure the temperature of water than a hair dryer. So I'll stick with water, and it's a lot easier to submerge the figure in it. And honestly, I might just use my sous vide because it's running at 140 right now. I know that's not nearly high enough for boiling, but yeah, like boiling is kind of bad. You're not gonna have a roiling boil of water. What I used to do is just I have an electric kettle. I'll turn the electric kettle on, pour it into a cup, and then dunk the figure in there and let it sit there for a minute while it heated up and, you know, pop the parts off. So I'll do a demo of that on the next stream. Hopefully someone will join. I don't think anyone has watched the stream except my wife when she was checking my audio for me, which hopefully has gotten better. Let's see. That looks pretty good. Let's see if we can do that. I'm also going to do some build-ups on some 3D prints. Like I do 3D prints of the Golden Gun from James Bond. I made up the model myself in Fusion 360, and like I've been selling them on eBay, and those have sold fairly decently. Like I've sold, I think, like 20 of them or so in the past year or so. I made them. Originally. I made it for my dad for Christmas, and since then I've actually gone through and made improvements to the model. It's more screen accurate now. Like I left some texturing off that I just didn't know how to do at the time because I was. That was like basically my introduction to 3D modeling, with building that gun. Almost. I'd done like some minor geometric stuff, and the gun is fairly geometric. Like it's cylinders and rectangular prisms and stuff. So it's not crazy, like huge curves and organic shapes. It's geometric. You can, like, that's how I built it. As I looked up the prop online and took measurements based on known facts. Like I knew, I found out what the lighter was that they used for it originally, and then I got a picture of the gun fully laid out and stuff. And I was like, okay, so I know the lighter that makes up the chamber here is this number of millimeters wide. So if I put it all into Inkscape, which is like a free vector art program, and traced every shape out, and was like, okay, so scaling to this size, the pin is this big, the bullet is this big, such and yada yada. And then I looked up some more details, and like, okay, so the caliber of the bullet is this, so that caliber bullet is this diameter. So then I like cross-referenced that, and I was like, okay, so there's a little bit of variation here. So found out the the lighter they used, they actually had to modify heavily because it wouldn't work as a firing prop, so they had to like build one basically from scratch. So I was like, oh damn it, that first measurement I used is completely off. So basically I kind of just made it, everything was right proportion to each other, but maybe not in exact scale to the figure. And in fact, one of the ones I sold, it's a scale. Like you look in the movie, it fits in your hand. And so this guy was like, he complained because like, it's so small. Look at it in my hand, and I was like, he's holding it weird, so it's like sticking out of his hand, and he's got. I'm sorry, dude, but you got huge hands. I can't help that. And it's like, well, Christopher Lee had big hands. And I'm like, well, I based mine off of the scale of the prop used in the movie. And he's like, well, the one they used in the movie was bigger than this. It's like, no, it's like, here are the dimensions listed on the licensed prop replica. It is this long and by this high, and here are my dimensions, this long by this high. I was off by like, I think mine was 2 millimeters shorter, which, that's nothing. So now the version I sell, I added the texture to the, here I'll show it. I actually have one printed, because I was giving people like a 3-day window for me to print it, because it takes a while. I don't print all of the parts at once because I find that you get a lot of stringing from the print that way, and like the quality is not as good as if I just do it one part at a time for the larger parts, and just like the smaller parts I'll print at the same time. Really, I just do smaller parts at the same time because it's too fast almost when you do one small part on its own. So, but I added this texture to it. Originally, this part was just smooth. It just had the grooves. Sorry, I put a paintbrush in my mouth. Originally, it just had these 2 grooves and the raised section, and actually I put the raised section on both sides. But it's a cigarette case, so on like a real cigarette case, this would be like, I think, the button to pop it open or something. I don't know, because it like the top pops open. But yeah, I just added this texturing. I didn't know how to do that before. but I figured out how to do it. Ooh, this one's got like a weird green line through it. I'm gonna have to do a reprint on this. See that there? I think my extruder might have been dirty. Oh well. Another one for the recycling bin. Toss it away. But yeah, I'll just do another version of another print of that one. Not a big deal. But yeah, so once I did that revision, and then I did improved some just like tolerances in some parts of it so it sticks a little better. I scaled it up just slightly because that guy was wrong that it was like completely off in scale. It was only, like 2 millimeters off. I think I wrote it down on something. Hold on one second. I have this. I can't find it anyway. But it was like I scaled it up to like 102%. So that's like super negligible change. It only added like 2 millimeters to the length, but it was now most accurate. So like you go on eBay and you find people selling them, or on Etsy they sell them. No one's selling the one I sell because once I made all my revisions, I stopped posting those changes on Thingiverse because every other week or so I would go on Etsy or on Amazon, on eBay, and be like, oh look, someone's selling my Golden Gun model. Like, this is literally my model. I can tell because I added just a little detail that isn't present on the original prop, but if you see it on my model, you'd be like, yeah, that totally belongs there. That makes sense. But yeah, like I see that mark and I'm like, whoop, that's my model. You are violating intellectual copyright. And so, like, I had to deal with that a couple of dozen times, and I just stopped posting the new versions. If they want to be selling my old version 1.0, where it's got issues with some tolerances and stuff like that, that's fine. Not my problem. I feel bad for people that are like legit. They just want to make it for themselves, kind of, because it's like, oh, these parts don't fit together like as smoothly as it does on yours. Why is that? I'm like, well, because people started basically stealing from me. It was like, I would be selling mine for like $60, and then they would have one for $30. And I'm like, well, they're gonna buy yours because you didn't have to put any time into like researching it. Like, and originally I was just gonna print off someone else's model and give it to my dad and be like, here you go, happy Father's Day. But I printed it and I was like, whoa, this is really out of scale. Like, this pin is the size of a highlighter. This isn't like a if Scaramanga pulled this out of his pocket, you'd be like, are you gonna bludgeon me to death with that? Because that's really big. Yeah, so I had to go to I originally had started like going, oh, I'll just like revise this part of it. Oh, I'll just revise this part of it. Oh, okay, well, just this one more part. Just this next part. And then it turned out to being like, oh, what's that term? I forget what it is. It's, what's that term for the boat where it's built of all the parts of different parts? I'm gonna Google that real quick. Boat made of new parts. Maybe that'll tell me. It's like some Greek term. No, original parts. Oh, the ship of Theseus. That's what it is. It's every other piece of it is replaced, so is it even the same thing again? So yeah, that's what basically happened with this model, is I was like breaking it apart. I was like, okay, well, the gun is long enough. It just, the diameter just needs to be changed because it's too thick. It's as thick as a highlighter. I need to make it thinner, thickness of, a ballpoint pen. So I did that all from scratch. I just like scrapped it. I'm like, okay, their dimensions are all wrong. Everything's wrong here. So let's remeasure everything. Do the whole thing over again. Okay, there we go. That's the pen. Okay. Well, now the pen doesn't fit into the lighter where it has to connect. And you know what? This lighter, it's just like covered with squares. It doesn't have the texture that I like. The texture on the actual lighter is like tiny little pyramid shapes all across it. It's not just little squares. So, okay, I'll just design this from scratch. Okay, well, they got a hinge on their lid. Oh, this hinge doesn't print very well. So, well, I've done dollhouse miniature stuff like for action figures before. I'll just use a dollhouse hinge. Those are, that's just the right size for this. So I have that hinge, and then once that's done, it's like, well, okay, so now that's done. Well, this doesn't fit into the cigarette case now at all. The cigarette case is just like, it's way too blocky. Like my hand had to be held all the way open to hold it. That's not comfortable. That's not right at all. And okay, well, I'll just rescale this and rescale that, and I'm like, so like the cigarette case is the only part where it's like kind of sort of based on the original, but I've gone through and changed it so much that it's like I've rescaled all the proportions, and I've reshaped parts of it. Like it's not even the same thing ever at all. So that that was silly. And then the cufflink also, like there's a trigger that's a cufflink. Like theirs was weird and very pointy and didn't look like a cufflink at all. So redo that part. Their bullet wasn't the right caliber. It didn't look like a bullet. It was just weird. The font on it for the 007 engraving wasn't right. So yeah, I had to redo that. So then when I got around to it and I looked at it, I was like, oh, this whole thing is all new. This is my completely scratch built thing now. Because while I used the other one for reference, it was more of a reference of what not to do. And then when I did end up posting it, like on Thingiverse, someone even commented like, isn't this just a remix of this? And I was like, no. If you put them side by side, like in this picture, you can tell they're clearly not the same thing. It's the same idea, but, as much as we both watched the same movie and wanted to make props of the same thing, one person went with just photos from, like, the poster or something, where it's, like, drawn on, and then I went and did a lot of research and scale and stuff. Now let's see. So I think that's it for the white. Pretty much after this coat, I'm gonna have to go in and probably sand down his shoulders. Don't know if I'll do that on the stream or not. Might do it just one evening while I'm sitting here at home. But that's Deadpool at that point. And clean my brush. Always remember to clean your brushes, like I said earlier. You don't want the issue where you're coming 6 years later trying to use your paintbrushes and they are super gross. But yeah, I used to like lick them off. I tried to stop that habit. I used to be like, oh, not with paint on them, but like after I'd cleaned them, I'd stick them on my mouth and like reshape them, which I think that's how like a lot of painters back in the olden days, like the Renaissance, would get like lead poisoning because they used to use lead-based paints. So I'll although I do not use lead-based paints, they didn't know they were putting poisonous things into their bodies at the time. They didn't know lead was a poison, so I don't want to have that same issue be like, oh yeah, we found out that this thing that they've been using in acrylic paints is actually carcinogenic, and everyone who's been doing that thing where they lick their paintbrush off is dead now. So on that happy note, that's all I'm going to do today. I'll probably do another stream next weekend to finish up this Deadpool figure. Well, let's lay him out here. So I've got his, jacket and his shirt painted. 3 or 4 coats, like 4 coats of white thinned paint. Turned out pretty well, I think. It's pretty good. There's a little bit of blue showing through. It'll be fine though. Like it's not so much that I wouldn't mind having it on display myself. So I'll have to go in, and his pants are like, I think they're already black. It's hard to tell. But they might just be a really dark blue, but I gotta paint those black, paint his shoes black, paint his gloves red and black on the, yeah, I'm gonna have to pop his hands off, definitely. Paint his mask and repaint his neck. I might have to pop his head off too, so I can get to the neck a little better. It's kind of hard to get in there, like in those spots without. And I'll maybe do like a super glue coat to prevent paint rub. But yeah, that'll probably be on the next stream. I'll probably do that next Saturday, depending on what I have going on. But Saturday or Sunday, we'll see. I guess this time didn't work for a lot of people because nobody's here. But anyway, join me next week, and I will finish up this Deadpool figure, and let me know what y'all want me to post. Just reach out to me on Facebook or Instagram, and I can, stream other stuff like 3D printing stuff. I'm not gonna like stream a 3D print. That'd be pretty boring. It's just for like 50 hours. That wouldn't be fun for anyone. But yeah, I'll probably start doing that. Hit me up on those places to let me know what you want to see. I know I'm gonna do a build up of a golden gun just because I have one just sitting here, and I kind of want to put one on display. I put a, hard to see back there, but behind me, right there, I have some pegboards where I have some of my prop guns and weapons that I've printed or purchased or collected that I'm going to put up, and I'm going to put one of the golden guns on there because it's kind of like the big one I've done. So I'll probably put this one up that I printed. I'll just have to redo the stuff for that. But yeah, that's all for this week. I will see y'all later. Thanks for watching. If you have. If you haven't, then you didn't hear that, and you're a jerk. No. Just thanks for watching. Alright, bye.